When people imagine living in the mountains, they usually picture one of two extremes, either luxury ski towns with million-dollar cabins or total wilderness isolation that feels unrealistic for real life. But that picture is incomplete. Across the United States, there are mountain regions where land remains relatively affordable, not because they're broken or abandoned, but because they sit outside the paths most people follow. These are not places optimized for convenience. They are not trending on social media. They are not designed for speed. They are places shaped by geography, history, and economic shifts that never reversed. As coastal cities absorbed talent, money, and attention, many rural mountain counties stayed quiet. Industries left, population growth stalled, demand never returned. And when demand never comes back, prices don't rise. This video is not about escaping responsibility. It's not about fantasy living, and it's definitely not about ignoring laws or reality. It's about understanding where off-grid or semi-independent living is realistically possible, what it actually costs, and what you give up in return. Because independence is not free. It is simply paid for differently. Today, we're exploring mountain regions across the United States where land prices are lower than national averages, regulations are less aggressive than major metro areas, and off-grid living is possible for people willing to accept the full picture. Before talking about specific places, we need to be honest about the term off-grid. Off-grid does not mean lawless, it does not mean invisible, and it does not mean doing whatever you want. In most U.S. counties, even rural ones, there are still rules related to septic systems, water safety, structural integrity, fire risk, and environmental protection. What changes is how aggressively those rules are enforced and how flexible the process is. In major cities, every square foot is regulated because density demands control. In rural mountain counties, enforcement often focuses on safety and environmental impact, not aesthetics or uniformity. That difference is where independent living becomes possible. Off-grid living usually means generating your own power, often solar plus battery, using a private well, spring, or shared water system, managing waste responsibly, and accepting slower access to services. It also means you are responsible when something breaks, you plan ahead for weather, and you cannot outsource inconvenience. This lifestyle attracts people who value autonomy more than speed. Section 2. Southern Appalachians, Floyd County, Virginia. Floyd County sits in the southern Appalachian Mountains of Virginia at elevations around 2,700 feet. Population density is low. Much of the land remains forested. And the region has a long history of small farming, music, and alternative living. This is not a new off-grid destination. It has been absorbing people seeking independence since the 1970s. That history matters. In communities that have already integrated alternative lifestyles, they are very different from places encountering them for the first time. In Floyd County, rural building oversight is lighter than in urban Virginia, but state-level health and safety rules still apply. Many properties rely on wells. Some use spring systems. Solar can work well on open or south-facing land, but wooded valleys require planning. Land prices vary significantly depending on road access, water availability, slope, and proximity to town. Some parcels remain affordable by national standards, particularly those without utilities or paved access. The nearest regional medical center is under an hour away, which makes Floyd more livable than many remote mountain areas. This is not wilderness isolation. It is rural community living with boundaries. People move here knowing employment is limited, internet varies by location, and convenience is not guaranteed. But what they gain is stability, predictability, and a culture that does not see independence as strange. Section 4. Economic decline as opportunity. Tazewell County, Virginia. Tazewell County sits on the Appalachian Plateau, shaped by decades of coal mining and economic contraction. Population decline here was not gentle, it was structural. And that decline left behind something rare, Land with very low development pressure. In rural areas of the county, building enforcement is limited but not absent. Expect rules related to septic, water, and environmental safety. What you won't find is aggressive oversight of design choices. Land prices in this region are among the lower end for mountain terrain in the eastern U.S., particularly for parcels without utilities or easy access. Many properties have natural water features, but legal usage and quality must always be verified. This is not an easy place to live. Jobs are scarce, services are spread out, cell coverage is inconsistent. But for people who bring income with them or live simply, Tazewell offers something most regions no longer do: time without pressure. The land is not cheap because it is perfect. It is cheap because life here requires commitment. Section 4. Balance through infrastructure. Spruce Pine, North Carolina. Spruce Pine sits in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, surrounded by higher peaks and mineral-rich terrain. Unlike many rural mountain towns, Spruce Pine has something critical: a hospital in town. That single factor changes the equation for many people. Healthcare access doesn't matter much when you're 25. It matters enormously when you're 55. Mitchell County enforces building codes, but enforcement is generally practical rather than bureaucratic. Safety matters more than conformity. Land prices here are higher than in deeply depressed regions, but lower than in trend-driven mountain towns. Water availability is strong. Solar works well here on suitable sites. The craft community adds cultural depth that many rural towns lack. The trade-off is visibility. Asheville's influence continues to grow. Prices are rising slowly. This is not undiscovered. Spruce Pine works for people who want independence without total isolation. Section 5. High-altitude reality. Westcliff, Colorado. Westcliff sits at nearly 8,000 feet in Colorado's wet mountain valley. The scenery is dramatic. 14,000-foot peaks rise directly from the valley floor. The skies are among the darkest in the lower 48. Custer County has relatively limited building oversight compared to urban Colorado, but water rights and access must be researched carefully. Solar performance here is exceptional due to altitude and sunshine. Winter, however, is serious. Living here means planning grocery runs, accepting long drives for specialists, and respecting weather without exception. Land prices vary widely, but remain lower than many Colorado mountain regions due to isolation and limited services. This is not casual mountain living. This is commitment-based living. Every place discussed shares one truth. They are affordable because growth skipped them, industry moved on, and demand never returned. They are not future boom towns. They are not shortcuts to wealth. They are pressure valves in an expensive country. You are trading speed for stability, convenience for autonomy, and prestige for breathing room. For some people, that trade is worth everything. For others, it is not. There is no correct answer, only honest ones. Off-grid and rural mountain living is not about escaping society. It's about choosing which parts of it you need. If you appreciate content that explains how affordability actually works without hype or fantasy, subscribe. Because understanding where independence still exists matters more than chasing it after it's gone.